Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Hello. So we have a full cast today and we have some special guests. So for those of you who are new, welcome to DataHub Town Hall. This is our October edition. You guys can see we probably have some fun stuff going on. Our writing looks a little bit Halloweenish, so we thought we'd have a little bit of fun, but hopefully you can read our names. So let me do some intros today. Let me start out with our special guest. So, guys, we have such a treat for you guys, and we're adding to the cast of members here. All right. We have such a special guest today, none other than the awesome and amazing Sharon Thomas from Chime, who is going to share an amazing case study for us. Sharon, tell everybody hi.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, for those of you who attended last month, you remember we were supposed to have Sharon, but she couldn't attend with us. So we are just excited to have you guys, and she has a lock and loaded deck to show you guys how Chime is rocking with Acro. All right, so just for some quick intros, we also have the awesome, fabulous, my counterpart, Miss Maggie Hayes. Yay! And
I'm on
then
mute.
we
Hi,
have
hello. Happy Town Hall
good,
Day.
good. Yeah, we're excited. And then we have some, these are repeat guests here. We have the awesome, which is my boss, Mr. Shashank Das.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello. And then we have another one of our co-founders, Mr. John Joyce, who has also been on here before. Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I am great. And then we have another repeat guest, Mr. Harshal Sheth. How are you?
Hey, pretty good.
Hello. And then we have a newbie from the Acro team. Andrew, you've been inducted. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Miko?
I am doing well. Okay, so as you guys know, we are streaming both on LinkedIn and YouTube. Feel free to leave your comments. We are reading them. Obviously, we can't reply while we're on screen, but thank you already to the people who are saying that we have the best metadata. Do you guys see that see that comment? We have the best metadata platform. Come on, let's give them a round of applause. I really should pull it up on the screen here. So I'm just gonna start off with this because this level of energy, this is what we need. We agree with this person. Yes, we do. So I just had to pull that up. Thank you for that energy, Andre, and we do love you. Okay, so we're gonna want to get started here on the deck. So I will go ahead and get down to me and Shashanka.
Miko, I had
So
a
we
question before we start. Did
sure
we, is this like a Halloween font? This looks very cool.
It's
it is, yes.
spooky.
Oh, you snuck that in.
Yeah, yeah. I snuck it in a little bit. Not everybody I don't even celebrate Halloween, but I just thought it was great.
Cool.
Granted, look at how my nails look, right? I have the Acro
Ah,
logo on my nails from DBT, which we'll get into.
cool.
But yeah, I admit it matches our, looks kind of cool. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started here. So, as you guys know, we are going to get started with the town hall. This is our intro slide for those of you that set up. By the way, we do these town halls for those of you who are new every single Thursday on the last Thursday of the month. Okay, so for those of you who kind of want to follow us, and we do the announcements within our Slack group. And so that's why you see on the bottom, we are consistently reminding people to please go ahead and join us in Slack because that is essentially where we share all of our updates. Okay, so let us go ahead and get started here. So we have a pretty packed agenda. As usual, me and Shashanka are going to start off with the community updates, and I'm going to leave Miss Maggie on if she's okay to insert anything she wants to add. We then have some amazing project updates with Shashanka and Maggie. And then I know this one is a big one, right? Everybody wants to hear about the roadmap. So Maggie is going to cover both DataHub and Acro. Okay, and so she has some exciting updates. Obviously, we're coming to the end of the year, but again, she does put these updates in our Slack channel in announcements. So please feel free to join us in Slack if you want to be, up to date. We then have an awesome demo focused on the ability to assign and complete documentation requirements in DataHub with Maggie. Then we have two updates. The first one is what's coming to DataHub. Harshal and Andrew are going to present Column-lineage for DBT, Unity Catalog, and Redshift. Now, honestly, we just came from DBT Coalesce, so this is really timely. And then we have John Joyce, who's going to give us an update on what is coming to Acro Observe. Again, if you have not checked out our previous town halls, please go back and check them out. We have been showing you some of these updates progressively, and it's just exciting to see it come together. And today, he's going to focus on specifically column assertions and SQL assertions. And then last but not least, we have the amazing Sharon Thomas coming from Chime, and she's going to talk about how they're using Acrel to manage their data contracts and platform agnostic schema definitions. Woo, that was a mouthful. Are we ready?
Let's go.
Yay. Okay, let's rock and roll. Okay, so let's start off with some quick community updates here. So even before I do this, I always ask this, and forgive me for not asking. Everybody who's live, where are we from, guys? So I always ask you, where are you from? Where's everybody from? Let's go ahead and put that in the comments. So if you're live, we just love to hear. We know we have a very global community. It's just exciting to hear where everybody is from. So go ahead and put that in the comments if you're joining us live and let us know where you're from. Okay, so we have crossed the 9,000 member in our Slack community for DataHub. We're now at 9228. As a matter of fact, I think we passed that even, right, Maggie? Just coming on to this Slack. So we're pretty excited. We're almost at 10,000. We expect to cross that before the end of the year. So we are very excited. In terms of weekly active users, we are almost at 1,000 weekly active users, which is fantastic. We had over 4,500 messages that were posted just in the month of October and over 612 reactions added. Now, admittedly, I'm probably about 10% of that because I love emojis, but either way, thanks everybody for participating. All right. Now, in terms of PRs, the things that our community care a lot about. So on average, in terms of our GitHub activity, we have on average about 39 PRs that are open up per week. And in terms of support messages, we have about 374. So I think it's safe to say that people are back. The fall is here. We expect this to ramp up as we go into the end of the year. So I think on our end, just keep it coming, but we want to make sure that we give visibility into how things are going because we know that's super important for the community. All right. Now, I want to thank everybody, and I'll ask Shashanka, I'll let you put in a few words here. So last week we had the pleasure, or week before, I believe, I'm losing track of my days here, of going to DBT. No, last week, and it was so exciting. Some of you may have seen the Joker, but Shashanka had a session that was packed end to end, wall to wall. Very exciting. I was there for the first time. I got to meet the amazing Hajan and many of you guys. So Shashanka, I'll just take a minute. Do you have anything to add about the DBT conference? We had a great time at our booth.
It was amazing. The number of people who walked up and said they're already using DataHub and already in production with DataHub, and I had never met them in person before, but I had known them by their Slack handle. It was just amazing to have those interactions. Ben Stansel dropped by, and we decided to, on the spot, do a LinkedIn audio show a little bit later. So that's going to be fun. Miko is going to moderate, and we're going to debate about catalogs and why they're important or not. So that's going to be fun. We had a bunch of AirPods that we gave out. I was so jealous every time we give out these AirPod Maxes because I'm still, using my AirPods Pro that have been chewed a few times by my dog already. So still working on those. They're mins, not maxes. And Jason showed up with a giant Joker costume and was making espressos and lattes for everyone. And the DataHub community showed up, and that picture that we have down there is really a lot of DataHub fans who showed up, and I think from the CCCS team, the government of Canada, I believe. And they were like big fans of DataHub, and it was fun to watch a lot of analytics engineers come up. There was a team that came up and is doing some client-side stuff with DataHub. It was just fun to watch the excitement and the ecosystem that has evolved beyond our wildest dreams. So a lot of fun. People showed up on a Thursday afternoon on the last day of the conference to hear about data governance, which was fun to watch. A lot of people very interested in shift left and data contracts and how we are doing that with DBT and DataHub. So that was really great to watch. A lot of great conversations.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Shashanka. And again, it's great to see the community. What's interesting is people kept seeing a data hub at the top, and they kept coming toward us, right? Because even though we were kind of in the back, let's be honest, right? We were not in the front, but wow, what amazing traffic! So everybody who was there, thank you so much, and hopefully we have some of them in the audience. All right. So now I want to get to our shout out. So as you guys know, again, I just showed you that DataHub, our Slack community, is growing on steroids, and so we definitely could not keep the community going without the help of specific people. Now, I'm not going to sit down here and read every single slide, but I just want to make sure that we specifically thank all these people who contribute day in, day out. They don't get anything for doing this in the community. They answer questions, they provide support. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our heart. And if you are here, please say that you're here. We do appreciate you. They're all around the world. We have a lot of repeat people as well. I think going forward, we might highlight them because we literally have people who are stuck on this list and there's no way that we could ever thank them. So thank you guys so, so much, including Lou, obviously, and just our high performers. It means that you answered multiple questions and supported people that you didn't even know, to be very frank. So thank you guys so much. All right, so now we have some good announcements. We know as the year comes to an end, we do have a few events that I want to mention. We are kind of winding down, but there's a lot of excitement in October. The first one is on October 30th, which is next week, Monday. We are going to be at Data Cloud, Snowflake, Data Cloud World Tour. Shashank, are you going to be there?
I might. It's right down the street from where I live, so I might just show up. There'll be a few events, and I think there's a few other folks from the Acryl team that'll be there. So it'll be fun to meet people.
Yeah, I love it. And we are a sponsor there as well, guys. So just make sure that you look for the Acryl DataHub booth and we will be there. It is a one-day event, but we're super excited. So if you're out in Santa Clara or in California area, please do join us. This is exciting. And then I will bring on Miss Maggie Hayes. Tell us about Hacktoberfest. I know we only have a few days left, but there's still time to win these
There's still
crazy gift cards.
time. Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar, Hacktoberfest is an annual hackathon, basically, for a month-long hackathon in the month of October across open source projects in general, right? So it's really just kind of encourage people to be contributing to open source projects, try out new things, really just kind of like get involved. So both our main DataHub project repo as well as our Helm repo are candidates for the counting towards Hacktoberfest. So when you submit 4 PRs that are candidates for Hacktoberfest, you'll and they are accepted within the month of October, you will receive a prize from the official kind of like Hacktoberfest community or organization. Additionally and separately, if you open a PR in the month of October, so you have how many days we have left? 5 days left.
Oh, 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days. You will be entered to win a $250 Amazon gift card. I believe we're giving out 3. I might be wrong on that. As well as our coveted DataHub swag, which is this wonderful shirt that everybody loves. And we will announce that at our November town hall. So one thing I will call out is that for our prize, the PRs do not need to be merged. We don't want to be the bottleneck, to prevent you from winning an Amazon gift card. But technically, for the official Hacktoberfest, those do need to be merged. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And yeah, excited to have a ton of contributors this month.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And I wish I should have came out with the stats, but again, I put the link to Slack group on the bottom. Join us in there. That is where the party is at. Get those PRs sent, and we look forward to giving away those gift cards. I wish I could qualify. Okay, now we do have one big announcement. And so I don't know if we have any of them live here, but we officially want to announce that we have launched the DataHub Champion Program. So we're excited. And the reason why this is important is you guys are going to hear a lot more from our champions and about them. So I just want to give a round of applause. If any of our champions are in the audience, they're in multiple time zones, feel free to identify yourself. We will make public who these people are and companies are, but we just want to say thank you and let you guys know that our first round was invite only, but it's a pilot, but we're hoping next year to open it up for nominations. So if this is something that you're interested in, this program is very monumental for the community. We recommend you get into our Slack community, into GitHub, and let's start providing support and getting visibility. And we're super excited. So I just want to say thank you to all our champions who are on board. All right, let us now get into the meaty stuff. Shashanka, the floor is yours, and I will leave Maggie so we can get through some amazing project updates.
Awesome. Let's move on. So this project update is focused on the next release, which is going to be 0.12. We merged quite a lot of PRs, close to that 150 mark that we usually hit every month. Again, a lot of contributors, 11 first time and 38 repeat contributors. So great to see all of you contributing back, and hello to the new ones. Can someone move this slide? Oh, there it is. Okay. The next one is kind of the highlights for v0.12. We're calling it 0.12 because there were a few reasonably large improvements done to the platform. It's not backwards incompatible, but there are a lot of new capabilities that we think you should be using. There was a small impactful security fix that we did with respect to cookies, and that might be backwards incompatible, but you won't see it. Like essentially your users are going to just log out and log back in. And so that's 0.12 for you. That's baking. It's about to come either later this week or early next week. User experience is going to be nested domains. Chrome extension now finally supports edits. So essentially everything you can do in the entity page, you can also now do in the Chrome extension, which is amazing. So your business users don't ever have to leave their BI tools. They can just stay there, add documentation, add tags, and do whatever they need to do while they're navigating their dashboards. Access management tab is now in the UI, probably behind a feature flag. So read the release notes and figure out how to enable it. Thanks to the PayPal team for the contrib. Developer experience data contracts. Everyone has been waiting for this. So the YAML, the CLI, and the SDK are out. So you can now create them. You can register them. You won't be able to see them yet. That's coming next. So the UI support for that is going to roll out over the next month. On the backend side, support for OpenSearch 2.x was added. That's a huge thing. It allows us to move to Elastic 8. It also allows for the AWS folks to move to OpenSearch 2.x. Metadata ingestion, a lot of new things. MLflow, big deal for data scientists, is now supported. DynamoDB, both of these were community contributions. Thanks to everyone for contributing these very impactful metadata sources for us. And then on the improvement side, dbt and Redshift, and we'll talk about that, now support column-level lineage. And on the profiling front, Snowflake and BigQuery also support profiling now via sampling. So if you have really, really large tables and you want to profile them, previously you'd just be waiting, not anymore. This is just a brief overview of everything that's included. The release notes will come out. Maggie will compile the highlights, and so you'll get a much better, more digestible report coming out shortly. Thank you.
Shashanka, one thing I wanted to call out here on the Chrome extension, we also rolled out support for Power BI within the last month. So so for folks that are using Looker, Tableau, or Power BI, it's truly like a seamless integration. You download the Chrome extension. Once you're in Power BI, you see a little tab pop up, or Looker or Tableau, see a little tab on the side, and you can get that preview of what's happening with the entity. If there's any incidents upstream, it's a really powerful way to kind of bring DataHub into the tools that your teammates are already using. So yeah, just want to call it one out as well.
It also supports Databricks and BigQuery. So in those
right.
consoles as well.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Alrighty, let's talk roadmap. So Miko, let's go to the next slide. So I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly. There's not a whole lot to dig into that won't be covered in other sessions. And so if you've been to our previous town halls, this should be familiar to you. So the main thing, like Shashanka called out, we merged nested domains that'll be available in 0.12, which should be going out this week. Metadata analytics v2. We're slowly working on this over time. Haha, that's funny because what we're doing is introducing time series metadata. So we're kind of chipping away at this as we go. In terms of entity owners, being able to verify / document their data sets within DataHub, that's what I'm going to demo. And Shashanka gave a little bit of an update on data contracts there. So we're chugging along here. Time's flying. I can't believe that it's already nearly November. How is that possible? But we're chipping away at our roadmap. Miko, let's go to the next slide. And then in terms of the Acro Cloud side of things, we have some work in flight to introduce to bring in generative AI for documentation generation. We will soon be kicking off our propagation work, so you can automatically propagate tags, terms, etc., between your data sets across lineage. We are planning to extend our subscriptions and notifications out to Microsoft Teams and email. And then John is going to be talking to us about column level metrics and SQL assertions. So great progress all around. And yeah, we're going to close out this year with a bang. So it's demo time. I realized as I was putting this together, I don't know that I've done a live demo during a town hall, like a true legit live demo. So We're going to pray to the demo gods that everything goes well, and we're going to dig right into it. So before we do that, actually, Miko, can you go back? Hold on one second. There we go. Okay, so I can do it from here. Okay, so if you were in town hall with us last month, we talked at a high level about entity documentation requirements, verification requirements, and kind of rolling out this new workflow sorry, Miko, can you take Shashanka off because it's covering a little bit of the slide. Bye, Shashanka. Have fun. So with this, we're introducing this new concept of creating a verification form to kind of set requirements on documentation, on certification, anything that could be related to compliance or governance, really just kind of setting the standards of how your data sets or your entities should be documented. So we're introducing this idea of a form, then assigning that form to an entity, and then having an end user actually go through it and kind of officially documenting it. So we talked about it at a high level last month. Now we're actually going to go through truly a live demo. So again, demo gods, be kind to me. So first things first, we are introducing this notion of a structured property. So if you're familiar with our current property offering, it's just a very arbitrary key value pair. With structured properties, it's more of a kind of like data validated or structured way to store or assert that data needs to match some criteria. So the way that you would create a new set of structured properties is by, obviously giving it a name. So we're going with plan deletion date, setting a date. So this is of type date. You set a cardinality, so single or multiple. And then a little bit of other, information about how do you want to display it? What does it mean, et cetera. Another one is having a single set of kind of an enum for structured property. So with this one, you can say retention period, and I have a set values there's a set of allowed values there. This is a great way to kind of like assert that the documentation must meet one of those values. So you don't have your end users kind of making up their own answers if really you're trying to say, you have one of 5 options, for example. So a couple other things in here. We have just like open string. So we'll like retention justification. We could say, this is, so you've set your retention period. Well, tell us why you're setting that period. If you want to assign someone who's, maybe consulted in the process, Tucker and Marlo, my 2 dogs, are going to be our compliance officers for this round of exercise. And then we also have some rich text structured properties as well. So I know this is a little bit abstract, but bear with me for a second. Once we have those created, we'd run a quick command to upsert those via CLI. And then separately, we can create a form via YAML. So we're creating a verification form. We're calling it our metadata initiative of 2023. And this is where we're starting to say, this form contains this set of structured properties. So I am basically assigning these values these prompts for people to answer. And then I define what earns or what types of entities those should be applied to. So right now, or in this scenario, you can, assert it at the earn level, but we're also supporting assigning it by platform type or domain, kind of groups of entities, so maybe by container, that we kind of like assign that more rapidly. So again, we would run via CLI a quick command to upsert that form. And then what ends up happening is we've assigned this form with these criteria to this set of entities. So let's go see what that looks like in our DataHub instance. So let me make sure that I have the right one here. All right. So we are in DataHub, and I'm going to look for, I believe it's Jaffle Shop. Shout out to our DBT friends. Customer, I think source. It was customer source. I can't remember. So we're going to pull this up. And what you'll notice is that this is just our entity page. Nothing flashy, nothing crazy going on. But that's because I'm not the owner of this. So I'm going to add myself as the owner. And because I'm the owner, I am now going to have this prompt that says, I am being asked to complete a set of requirements for this entity, right? The reason we're only showing this to owners is because really we're encouraging the owners of the entities to take action and not necessarily kind of cause confusion to other end users, right? So if I didn't own this and I came in and said, well, wait a minute, this is missing information, maybe I shouldn't trust it. The reality is what we're asking, the type of information we're asking for is actually more around kind of like the retention period of the data set within your data store. So is that really relevant to kind of an end user who's trying to find something during a discovery process? Maybe not necessarily. So we are targeting this to the owners so that we can kind of target that workflow and have them take action. The other thing I'm going to call out is that on this, you'll notice that in our properties tab, there's nothing here just yet. Okay. So I'm going to go through the process of completing documentation. We have this open in a separate tab. That way, if you want to go back and forth and kind of reference, maybe you want to look at, existing documentation, or excuse me, any like historical queries or usage stats, et cetera, et cetera. This isn't a great example because it's just some dummy data. But the idea is that you can kind of toggle between those quickly. So what you'll see over here is kind of a preview of the entity on the right-hand side. If we had it annotated with tags, domains, et cetera, that would show up over there. And then now what we see is all of these structured properties that we just defined via YAML. So our planned deletion date, because we set that as a date, you can go through here. Maybe we'll set this for next year on Halloween. And then so also keep an eye over here. I have 5 questions remaining. Once I hit save, that's going to go down to 4. The other thing I will call out is that now this will be applied as a structured property on the properties tab with a little hover to help you understand, kind of contextualize what that's meant to be. So we're going to chip through these. We'll say that my data retention period, maybe it's indefinite. My justification for that is because I like this data and I want it forever. Yay. So we'll save that. We'll save that. And I will add Tucker and Marlo as my compliance officers. And again, those are my 2 dogs. They're perfect and beautiful. Join DataHub Slack and I'll show you pictures of them. And then maybe I'll add a relevant link. So we'll say this is, I don't know, link out to something cool. And we'll just make this google.com. So we'll save that. We'll notice that our this now goes to a state of documented. If this was of type verification, that is more of kind of like a certified or kind of like I verify that all this information is accurate and is what it's meant, or kind of represents what I say it does. So we do have that state as well. And then when we come over here, we will see that our new structured properties show up on our tab. We have a link out to something cool. That's great. And then this call to action over here is now minimized, and it just says that this is documented. And then you're always able to go back and revisit those if you would like. So you can reopen that tab as an owner of it. So that's the rundown for what we have supported right now. We are actively working on this and iterating through it. So keep an eye out. We'll be sure to kind of share more as we go. The other thing that I will call out, where did my slide go? In a next round of this, or a second iteration of this, let me get this on the screen. We will actually be supporting UI-based edits. So it's a little clunky right now, right? Like you'd have to fill it out in the form, hit save, then it goes and updates that property. So we're going to be moving that edit functionality into the entity page as well. So you don't necessarily need to go through the form. So that's the next round of it. In terms of, so Nedra, your question around, are the questions configurable? The great thing about structured properties is it is entirely configurable. So you have the flexibility to create whatever question type. You can set it as a date. You can set it as an earn if you want to like start relating that entity back to a DataHub user or another DataHub entity. You can have single select, multi-select. Basically, think of it as like a Google form for your data set. And right now, the main support within a form is for those structured properties. In future iterations, we will also start to add in domain, DataHub domain, DataHub glossary term, tags, data products, all of those fun things. So you could really start to kind of assign robust requirements around how you're documenting and annotating your data sets. All right, last but not least, I called this out in the last session as well. But so what we're doing on the open source side is really building out these fundamentals of kind of creating these forms and annotating and assigning them out. The main thing that we're going to be focusing on the ACRL side is starting to apply these forms continually, right? So as you have new data sets that are created, or maybe just like evolving requirements, we'll have that much more automated continuous application of form and assignment, also with some notifications going out. We're also going to be really focusing on how we can kind of handhold people through annotating these and kind of taking action in bulk. There will be some bulk functionality available in the open source version, but we are going to be really focusing on a much more streamlined user experience for ACRL Cloud. So I am personally very excited about this. This is something that I wish that I would have had this is something that I wish I would have had in prior roles, but now we're building it out and it's super exciting. We always love to have feedback, and we'll, excited to team up with you guys. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, and we'll talk to you on Slack. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Maggie off, and let's get Harshal on. Hey, everybody. So we are now going to have Harshal and Andrew join us for some updates. Let me bring them on here. Give me 1 minute for some lineage updates. All right, let us rock and roll.
Harshal, actually, do you remember the order of the slides?
You can go first.
All right. So, we've made a few more Unity catalog improvements that I'd like to discuss. So the biggest one, and this is going to be a breaking change if you set the config, is that we changed the container structure. We used to include metastore and then catalog schema and table, but this we're trying to make more standardized and fit better with the way Unity catalog is structured, which is that you can have multiple workspaces point at the same metastore. And right now we're only ingesting from one workspace, so it doesn't really make sense to include metastore in that structure. And this also allows us to get lineage to other sources like Tableau, which I'll show in a second. The most important thing to know here is that you should set include metastore to false. And this is what we're going to set as the default in the future. And then this, if you have stateful ingestion turned on, everything should work as normal. And you'll see this new structure in your data. So that's the boring part. The more exciting part is what you can do now that you have this structure. Just give me a moment. Harshal, can you move the slides? I don't seem to.
Miko, could you hit that?
Okay, great. Thank you. So if you look at this is just the new structure. Before we had the metastore included, now we don't. And then if we move to the next slide, we also support a few more lineage improvements. So we can get in lineage for external tables from S3, and we display notebooks in lineage if you set include notebooks to true. So for example, you can get a kind of chain of lineage where you first pulled a Unity catalog table from S3, and then eventually you're using it in a Tableau dashboard or chart later on. This is just an example of what it might look like. One thing is we are considering how we display these notebooks in lineage. As you can see, they kind of are separate entities right now, but we think it might make more sense to show them on the edge, for example, and say the lineage from the menu table to hidden table was produced through this notebook. So if you guys have any comments there or any suggestions, we'd love to hear it. And that's all I have.
let's chat about DBT. So with DBT, we now support column level lineage. So previously, if you wanted column level lineage with DBT, if you were using Snowflake or BigQuery, because the Snowflake and BigQuery integrations supported column level lineage, we could generate column level lineage for DBT through that. But if you were using anything else, Postgres or Redshift or any other tool, you didn't have, you couldn't get column level lineage with DBT. And now the update is, well, you can. And this will work across, all your sources, your snapshots, your models. Doesn't matter if it's incremental or ephemeral models. Kind of whatever setup you've got, we'll be able to generate column level lineage based on that. And one extra kind of goodie as part of that is if you have ephemeral tables, previously with DBT, because they didn't actually exist in the underlying, let's say, Snowflake, the entity for that DBT model in DataHub would just kind of look blank. And now we'll actually infer what are the columns of that ephemeral model and what are their data types. And we'll show that like best guess for that inferred schema in DataHub. So that way you can actually kind of start to understand exactly what is going on with your DBT models, not just the things that are materialized within your underlying warehouse. So this is not available just yet. It is going to be in the next CLI point release, 0.12.01. And could you hit the next slide? So the final piece is, what does it actually look like? What is this graph? So this is, a fairly simple DBT project as far as DBT projects go, but still somewhat complex. And here we're just tracking, okay, where did that email field in that very downstream table actually come from? And we can, click on that row, it'll highlight all the way back, and we can see that. And then finally, let's maybe kind of take a step back and survey how does end-to-end column level lineage work within DataHub, and what are all the sources that can do it. So, previously available were Snowflake and BigQuery. And in the past few months, if you've been paying attention, we've been slowly chipping away at integrations with a ton of other sources. So now we support column level lineage for Redshift, for Unity Catalog, via Databricks via Unity Catalog, as well as we parse view definitions from a ton of different SQL sources, and we'll generate column level lineage for the views specifically. If you've got DBT for your transformations, we'll generate lineage for those. If you're using Airflow, we have a new Airflow plugin that will automatically, if you use a SQL operator in Snowflake or something, or in Airflow, or Snowflake operator, Postgres operator, whatever it is, we'll extract the SQL out, generate column level lineage for those. For the big three BI tools, Looker, Tableau, and Power BI, we support column level lineage. For the others, we support only table level lineage right now, but we're gonna keep chipping away at it. And then if none of these things are what you need, we have a couple mechanisms. If you have query logs, we can generate lineage from that. And then finally, you can use our SDKs or our file-based lineage source to get lineage into DataHub. So really, lineage will be end-to-end. I see there's a question around Spark lineage. I think we'll respond to that one in chat, because I know John wants to get on screen. But yes, it is coming.
Thank you guys. We do have two questions, but in light of time, Harshal will go ahead and jump in. Harshal and Andrew, thank you guys so much. This is awesome to see that we are evolving with our DBT. Thank you guys. All right. Next up on the screen, we do have the amazing John Joyce, not a stranger to the DataHub stage, who is working on Actual Observe. And so, John, we are excited to hear from you. I think this has been kind of ongoing, correct?
Yep, that's absolutely right, Nico.
Yay. All right. Let me go ahead and pull you up here. Give me 1 second. Get you going.
All right, perfect.
Yay. All right. Let's rock and roll.
Cool.
Guys,
Hey, everybody.
any questions? Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and give an update on the Actual Observe track. We did one in August, so 2 months later, we'll take a look at what the team has been working on. So before we start, I'll just motivate the problem set that we are working towards. And this was kind of decided based on talking to various customers of Acro. But what we found is that data users are often the first to encounter data issues. And by data users, I mean people who are looking at dashboards or even end users of a product with data-driven features baked into it. Oftentimes, those users aren't able to actually determine the underlying source of the problem. So if I'm looking at a dashboard and I see that something looks incorrect, but that dashboard is powered by 50 upstream tables, I probably don't know exactly what has gone wrong. Data users also don't usually know how to fix the underlying problem, even if we know where the issue is. And finally, there often isn't a formal process to triage or find ownership and accountability when data issues are detected. So this is the set of problems that the Actual Observe team is sort of focused on. And our true north principle is really that data consumers shouldn't be the first to encounter data issues. And if they weren't the first to encounter data issues, we could get ahead of a lot of these problems. So with that, I'll just quickly touch on the mission of the team. The mission is to protect data-driven's most important assets by detecting data issues proactively before they make their way downstream, and then driving resolution collaboratively across the various stakeholders in the organization. At a 50,000 foot level, the master plan of attack is first we're focusing on the detection piece. So early detection of data quality issues. And then we're focusing on the resolution piece. So this is helping to drive resolution across an organization once data quality issues have been detected. And a recap on what we're building. I gave an overview of this last time, but I'll go over it again. Data quality assertions managed by DataHub. These are essentially data quality rules or tests that can be defined by users and scheduled to run on a continuous basis with notifications when things go wrong. ML-powered smart assertions. So these are automatically generated data quality rules that are based on looking at trends in your data's history. Real-time health dashboards, which enable the central teams to track data issues in real time and then prioritize efforts towards fixing those with the highest ROI. And finally, incidents and notifications. So moving into the resolution phase, broadcasting the state of an incident to the relevant stakeholders and then working to get that resolved. Last time we took a look at freshness assertions, which allow you to define data quality checks that guarantee that a table is updated in the expected times, and volume assertions, which allow you to define checks against the row count or the size of a table and monitor when things go wrong. We finally covered smart assertions, which are these auto-generated checks based on the history of your data. Here you're seeing a volume smart assertion that is verifying the row count of a table through time. And with that, I'm going to jump into a quick demo of two new types of assertions that we've been working on in the past 2 months that will kind of add to this suite of functionality. So if we go to DataHub, we have this purchase event table on our BigQuery instance, and you can imagine this represents purchases that were made on an e-commerce website. We already have some of the new types of assertions I'm going to talk through, but I'm going to start with actually going through the create assertion flow and showing you what those look like. So we talked through freshness and volume before, and today we're announcing the availability of column and custom SQL assertions. I'm going to start with column assertions, which allow you to define checks against individual columns in this table. There are kind of two types of column assertions that we support. The first is column value assertions, which allow you to verify that every row's value for a particular column matches some criteria. And the second is column metric assertions, which is validating that a metric value aligns with some particular expected value. First, I'll show you the column value assertions. So the first thing we have to do is select a column from the table that we want to assert against. I'm just going to choose the amount column, which is basically the amount of the purchase transaction. And what we can do is basically run a rule against the amount column where we look for values that are violating our rule. So I'm going to say that I want to pass as long as every amount is going to be greater than 0. This means that it was a valid purchase, let's say. Finally, I can determine whether I want to allow nulls or not. If I never expect this column to be null, then I'm going to turn that off. And finally, I can select which rows I want to run this assertion against. We can either run it against all table rows or the rows that have changed. Finally, we can test out this assertion right here in line before we create it. Column metric assertions are very similar, except we are running the assertion against metrics that are obtained by aggregating over the column, like the min, the max, the average, and more. Finally, I'll show you custom SQL assertions, which basically allow you to define any arbitrary SQL against this table, and then compare the result to a predicted expected value. I won't get too far into this because I know we are running short on time. So I'm going to, with that, jump back into my slides. All right. So what we just checked out is the new support for column assertions and custom SQL assertions. We also support finding assets with ongoing issues or failing assertions through our search APIs, as well as through our dataset health dashboard. Finally, I'll just cover the Acryl advantage, why we think Acryl has a unique benefit for observability. The first is that we allow you to define these data quality rules in an effortless manner without writing any code or any YAML files. The second is we serve as a centralized store of trust across both the technical health and the governance or compliance health of an asset. And then finally, we make these rules and data quality universally accessible to everyone inside of your organization, not just the folks that are dealing with the data on a day-to-day basis or the technical folks. In terms of availability, Acryl Observe is in the early preview stage now. If you'd like to try out these features and provide feedback, definitely reach out to our team and we can go ahead and get you set up. All right, finally, coming soon to Acryl Observe, we have smart column assertions, remote execution, so this is running data quality checks in your own environment. Additional data source integrations, currently we support Snowflake, BigQuery, and Redshift, and Databricks is next. And that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to hand it back.
Hey, John, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so there are some questions, as you know, in the chat. So why don't we go ahead? I know you'll go in and engage with that. I'm going to go ahead and bring our last presenter, Ms. Sharon, on the screen. Thank you, John. That was awesome. All right, Ms. Sharon, let us get you on the screen here. Hello, hello. I think this is the long-awaited. How are you?
Great. Yeah, I'm so excited. So let's jump right in the interest of time. So, hi folks, I'm Sharon, and today I want to talk about basically how we are using Acryl for data discovery for schemas, and also schemas for doing some interesting things in, for discovery and governance and so on and so forth. So I'll jump right in. My name is Sharon. I'm a software engineer at Chime, and I already introduced myself, so I'm going to just skip over that. And I want to start with just the enormity of the problem, that the problem space that we are looking at just generally, in the data world. So the data tools, these are the number of data tools that existed in 2012, so like a decade ago. And this has blown up to like this in 2021, so, a decade later. And what has happened is that it's becoming easier and easier to run ETL to ingest, process, and produce data sets. But what is becoming difficult is that because of this amount of data, a lot of source of truth data, all of these things are hidden. There are duplicates, inconsistencies, there's too much data, inaccuracies, and so on. Moreover, in a lot of organizations, I've noticed that there is like Conway's law in play. So Conway's law suggests that communication patterns in an organization mirror the org structure. And in a lot of organizations, the producers, which is the product engineering, and analytics, which are the consumers of data, are in separate orgs. And there's usually a data engineer, like, communicating between these two and getting requirements and solving their problems. But because these two groups are not talking to each other, there are a lot of problems related to consumer expectations, producers not knowing how their data is being used, and so on and so forth. So the first thing that we wanted to do at Chime was bring all these folks into the same page, and that's where we started using Acryl and DataHub. So you wanted this to be the water cooler, if you will, where people can discuss and find what they need in a single place. And my favorite part about Acryl is the lineage, because this is one really easy way of connecting the producers to the consumers. Now, the producers know who is using their data, consumers know where the data is coming from, and it is easier to have accountability mechanisms and all that in place, and we'll see that next. Now that we have a place where these producers and consumers can talk to each other, we also need a common love language or a data language for them to communicate in. At Chime, we have been very strict about schematizing our event data, raw data from the beginning. We use protocol buffer schemas to represent the data models for a bunch of things. Even for Snowflake tables, the data model for Snowflake tables that are backed by events, we create this data model in protocol buffer schemas, through which the Snowflake tables are created. So so basically the point that I'm trying to make is like schemas are used for everything in our world. And one interesting thing about using a programmatic schema definition language, such as protocol buffer, is all this extra surface area that it gives you to do, all these extra bells and whistles to do interesting things. So once you have schema in code, you can add documentation, so comments. And also with protocol buffer schemas, a couple of years ago, I think they came out with this thing called field level and message level options. And these options are basically like annotations or metadata that you can add to your schemas. They're not really sent on the wire, but they are available to add metadata. So for example, we use that to tag teams or add extra documentation. In some cases, we also use these field level annotation to classify a field. And the other thing that we really wanted to be cognizant about was how data flows through the organization. So most of the data originates in raw form, so in the form of events and logs and so on. Then it is processed by Spark and ETL workflows. Then fact tables are generated, and finally business insights, funnel analysis and dashboards are created, which is what most people, execs and leaders and PMs look at. But even though we completely abstract all these business insights away from raw data, they are not immune to issues in the raw data. So if, let's say, something goes wrong in the raw data, it may impact business insights. So for example, let's say that someone stops producing a field that is used for calculating the revenue. Now, if an exec is looking at the dashboard, they don't know whether the revenue organically dropped or it's because of a data issue. And this is why we wanted to bring everybody, connect all of these components and through lineage. So now our engineers, PMs, analysts, and BI folks, everybody is using the same tool. Engineers can add context about what each fields mean. They can also add assertions to make sure they're not breaking anything that is being used downstream for driving any business insights. And they can add data quality checks. And we have been using the incidents and the validations in Acryl quite a bit. And now visibility increases because all of these people are communicating at the same tool and they have the lineage. So if someone finds that something is off in a dashboard, they can just look at the lineage and they can find, if there is any node which has an active incident there, find their owners, reach out to them. The other thing that the other learning from implementing discovery through DataHub at Chime was crowdsourcing metadata ingestion. So at Chime, and like most companies, there are many different data tools and technologies used by different teams. For example, machine learning platform owns feature store, they own models and SageMaker. There may be a different team that owns, security and compliance and so on. So having a central team to ingest metadata does not cut it. So, a pull-based metadata management does not work very well, because or it's just like a lot of work for teams. So instead we went with the way of like a push based metadata ingestion, where even to like design best practices, we have this small team of representatives from different teams, like machine learning and security, data engineering, and so on. And this group of data stewards help define best practices and how to ingest metadata, and uh, have been building out the core platform. And and think of metadata ingestion like log and metric collection. It should happen right at the source. So like how log and metric collection happens as via sidecar processes and systems, that is how metadata ingestion should happening. Just collect it from the source, have it pushed down to DataHub. For that, our team, some of the brilliant engineers that I work with at Chime, they built out this central ingestion service, basically a wrapper over the DataHub API. And now all the sub teams are building their own metadata extractors that integrate with their own systems and services and push metadata to this wrapper over DataHub API. And this wrapper essentially abstracts away the data model and so on, so that the teams don't have to worry about how the DataHub API looks like. So this is how we have been collecting or ingesting metadata into the system. And this is a simple one. This is another thing that we have been ensuring or enforcing from the beginning, is that everything must have an owner, and no owner, no accountability. And for even you can add all the assertions you want, but someone needs to fix those issues. So for that, we need owners. And coming back to shift left, and we discussed this, shift left many times throughout the course of many different talks today. So we kept this in mind right from the beginning. So we wanted to collect metadata at the source. So for that, as I spoke about earlier, we leverage schemas to have producers tell us the nature of their data, give us documentation, tag things, and using DataHub SDKs, we ingest all of that information as glossary terms, tags, and description into the tool. And once it is in the tool, you can run searches on top of it, find things by glossary tags, and so on. And finally, data contracts. So this has been the hot topic. Every time I open LinkedIn, I see a lot of posts about data contracts. There's a lot of opinions, and this is a very developing area in our space. But what is it? So, and this is just my opinion of how I perceive data contracts. So in my opinion, data contracts is basically SLAs, like a formal agreement between producers and consumers. And it contains like three main things. So schema, semantic, and accountability. And we already talked about some of those things and how it can come together to form a data contract. So we have schemas that defines, have some accountability around what the structure of the data should be. We can set assertions, like John just before me, he presented like this amazing way of setting assertions through DataHub that can do semantic checks. And through lineage, we can tie it back all together, have accountability back to the producers, hold them accountable for assertion failures, find when things are broken. And this is how we are organically doing it. But I'm also really excited to see the data contracts support coming up in DataHub. And that's all I have. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sharon. That was super awesome. Thank you for presenting. I could see we do actually have some questions, but I know that we're out of time. So if you don't mind staying on the screen, I'm just going to bring everybody back. But thank you so much. That was really, really awesome. Okay, So let us go ahead and bring back the entire crew. Make sure that we tell everybody thank you for being here. All right, so we have concluded the October Town Hall. If you're still here with us, thank you. Um, any last thoughts before we wrap up here? Thanks everybody for being here. This is exciting.
Happy spooky season.
I think next year we should all have costumes.
I have a costume planned for our internal Halloween party on Friday, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good.
Well, our job is to make sure that you're not scared of your data. So costumes and you great
Yeah, I
presentation,
think we have a
Sharon,
competition.
and amazing job staying on time, unlike the rest of us.
No, that was great. Guys, thank you so much. We still have questions coming in. I see both on LinkedIn and YouTube. I just want to take the time to invite everybody. We are going to be back again next month. Again, for those of you, sorry about the scrollies, we're going back and forth. Our next town hall is November 30th at 12 p.m. We're again going to be live. Definitely please join in. People are asking for pictures. And one of the things we're going to try to do for those who want to stick around, I'll have to ask Shashanka, is probably have a 10-minute chat after. I feel like there's a lot of things and there are people who are still, I'm looking at our viewers, we've only lost like 10 people. So I think people are still here around. So Shashanka, I think we should stick around 10 minutes after sometimes and just kind of talk to people. They're still going.
Absolutely.
They're still going.
I have a quick meeting to hop to in a bit, but yeah, let's stick around for the folks we can.
Yep. Okay. So is anybody here have to jump? We have a lot going on in the chat. I want to kind of bring it up. Can we do it ad hoc? You guys okay with that? Planned? Can I bring it up?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right, let's see what we see here. I'm just gonna kind of bring them up because we have some good ones. Forgive me if I am doing this out of order. So this is specifically for you, Sharon, if you don't mind. Do you capture SLAs as part of Protobuf data contract itself?
Not right now. So we do that through assertions, and this is also like something that we are actively designing and would love your opinion in the future. But yeah, no, not through schemas right now, not through Protobuf right now.
Okay. Does Shashanka, any of the team, want to address that?
I think this is a interesting question for any organization that is very schema first and has chosen a very technical schema implementation. Like, what comes first? Does the data contract come first, or does the schema come first? Because the data contract often has a few additional things that don't quite fit into a schema. When we were designing the data contract specification, we definitely kept it somewhat extensible, so you could just point to an external schema as part of your data contract. So you could think of the data contract as a manifest that just points to a schema that you already have. So that could be one way to go, where the contract file is kind of a sidecar to your schema, your technical schema file. The other option, of course, is to extend the schema language itself to support these additional capabilities. And I think different organizations will probably support both, because different organizations will find that their data producers or their developers want one over the other. And I don't think we should necessarily force a certain workflow on developers. That's the one thing that we can do to make them not like us. So we'll probably end up supporting both, is my guess.
Okay, thank you. And then I think this one is a bit simpler. And Sikar, thank you for that question. This one is from, I don't want to mess up your name, Ajenkia. Is support for Dynamo, this font's messing me up. DynamoDB Live. Who wants to take that one real quick?
Yeah, it'll be in 012.
Yeah, and so that's going to be, so we're working on, we started the release process this week. It should go out by the end of this week, if not early next week.
Awesome.
So part
okay.
of 012.
Okay, and then I think there's a good question here by Sikar. I don't think we addressed this. This one's a little bit longer. Also, if we are using a separate data observability tool, is there a way to integrate the freshness, volume, SQL monitor metrics into DataHub? I don't think he's the only one that has that question.
Yeah, so this is a great question. You absolutely can. The only formal support we have in terms of our integration layer is with dbt and Great Expectations, ingesting those using kind of our external assertion model, which is the first thing we supported. So when you ingest it that way, you won't see them as freshness, volume, column assertions, you'll see them as a separate category altogether called external, and it'll have everything from those other platforms. That being said, you could totally push the assertions in using the freshness, volume, and column models, but you would have to write that integration to push that in using DataHub's APIs. We don't support an automatic integration for it yet.
But if you're working with a vendor, I think you can definitely lean on them and ask them to build that integration, because our APIs are open, and so it'll be pretty easy for them. And we're happy to help whichever vendor you're working with to help them onboard onto our docs and help them understand how to use our APIs. And I know a few vendors, data quality vendors, are already integrated with us. So yeah, just let us know and let them know, more importantly, for them to schedule the work on their end.
Okay, and then one very last one, which I'm thinking is important and probably in a lot of people's mind. How is performance in this process against very large data sets, and has that been assessed? I think this is a universal question. This is our last one.
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a few different answers. The first is, for column assertions in particular, we allow you to run them against the entire table or only the rows that have changed. For large tables, we would recommend doing the second option. This means that if you have rows added since the previous run of the assertion, those will be the target set. So it allows us to filter down to a much, much smaller set of rows. So that's one way we try to make these more optimal. The other way is we actually support you running these assertions against both the actual live table and the DataHub collected metadata. So if you've already run profiling on your tables and you've ingested the DataHub dataset profiles into DataHub, you can actually target those assertions against that metadata. Of course, at that point, you have to make sure that you're not running it against stale metrics, but you can, and that will not incur really any additional performance implication because the metrics have already been created, or rather computed and cached. So there's a few different ways, but yes, it is something we're very keenly aware of, I would say.
Okay, Nedra, thank you for that. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. I hope we got some questions answered. You guys are awesome. Feel free again to join us in Slack. And I just want to say thank you for the team. You guys did a great job. And Sharon, thank you. Thank you so much to you and the Chime team. You guys rock. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween.
Thanks, guys.
Happy October,
Halloween.
everybody.